name's Bridget and I watched The Witcher. It was basically really popular on my Twitter feed. I couldn't stop seeing it. It was like Star Wars, The Witcher, and America. That was just my whole feed. I saw Star Wars, so the only thing I had left to do was watch The Witcher. And I did, and I loved it. I thought it would be fun to talk about why The Witcher's doing so well. Netflix came out with its top 10 stats for the whole year. Everyone was very shocked to see The Witcher was so high up on all of those lists. It was, I believe, like number 3 for its overall year, and then it was number 2 for Netflix series. Everyone was like, well, it just came out, like this is based on the first month, like how do you have these stats, like how do you know? And they're like, well, we use some like predictive analytics to see that a lot of people will be watching the show over the next month based on how many people have watched it so far, so it would get to that place as number 2. And I thought this was interesting. Everyone online was like, blah blah blah, like The Witcher isn't that good, like why would it be that high? And I would like to talk about that today. I'm here to talk about why The Witcher is so high on the Netflix lists. And I'm gonna try not to be like super biased, but you know, I did love The Witcher. I made a list of things that I think helped The Witcher do well. Henry Cavill is a beautiful human being, and he's super popular. He's Superman. So obviously he's gonna bring in some viewers on his own. People are like, oh, I'll watch whatever Henry Cavill does, and then he does this, so they're like, well, watch that. Also, this is like a side note. He has a similar look to Legolas in Lord of the Rings, and everyone loved him. So the showrunners are women, which might not be a selling point for men who want to watch the show, but for women, they're like, oh, well, it's run by women. There's a lot of strong, powerful women in the show, so I will watch it because we stand strong, powerful women. There's action. And when I say there's action, it's not just like fake action. The action in the show seems really real. I know Henry Cavill trained for so long so that he could do the sword fight scenes himself, and I think that shows. They cut way less, and you can see that he's putting in the work and the effort, and you can see how amazing his fighting skills are. You can see the effort there and the fact that they're actually sword fighting. And usually when people sword fight in shows and movies, they cut like a bajillion times within the shot. But in this, I feel like they cut way less because those actors have those skills to be able to hold on the scene. It has fun with itself. It's not afraid to kind of make fun of itself a little bit. Like, Toss a Coin to The Witcher, such an iconic song. And then Jaskier, his whole character is basically just making fun of the show. It's fantastic. It hooks you with the plots and how they interweave and like make you want to see how they connect in the end. Like when you finally get to the end, you're like, wow, I'm so satisfied at how they all came together to form this one cohesive story. People are looking for a fantasy series to fill the gap from Game of Thrones. Everyone knows that Game of Thrones was super popular. I personally didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I did want to, but we didn't have HBO, so it wasn't gonna happen. And so I think people were looking for another show to fill that gap, and The Witcher is a fantasy series, and it has those like fantasy elements along with strong, powerful women, and it dropped at like the right time. Moving into my 7th point, it dropped right around the holidays, which means everyone is home, they're off from work, they have the time to sit down and binge watch the whole show in one go. So those views are coming from people who are sitting down and watching the whole show as like a big story. That's the power of binge watching, is people can sit down and watch the whole show and be like, cool, I watched it, I'm done with it now. And that's just all over break. If they had to wait week to week, I don't know if it would have been as popular. Like, I think it was really good, but I just think the power of being able to sit down and continually see where the story goes is amazing, and like it adds a lot to the series. And along with the Netflix idea, like a lot of people were like, oh, it's not gonna be, like, why would it be that high? And a lot of people said that they're putting their new series really high and overestimating so that people will watch the series more. However, I don't think it's necessarily true in the case of The Witcher, because I saw so much hype about it on Twitter. And usually my Twitter, I don't really go on Twitter that much, but when I do, usually it's not just filled with one thing. It was filled with Star Wars and The Witcher. That was it. I did not see anything else. It was like my whole timeline was promoting The Witcher. And I didn't even follow any of The Witcher accounts at this point. So it's not like I was like ready for this series to drop. It was just people I was following were like, this is an amazing series, you need to watch it. So I think that hype helped it actually gain popularity and everything. So I don't think in the case of The Witcher that the stats are false because Netflix wants people to watch more. Like, I know it's really high up there. Like, it's very shocking that it's number 2. However, I think that's valid for this show. Some obvious fact is that it's based on a series of books, so people who read the books are going to want to watch it. And then it's also based on the game The Witcher. So people who love the game are also going to want to watch that. So those two are kind of automatic markets that will probably watch the show. So those are built in kind of. And then there's just like the regular people. I didn't know a lot of people who played the game or read the books before I saw the show and saw the hype around the show. That wasn't really one of the things that I factored into it, but I think it does factor into the general viewings of the show, is that these people are gonna want to watch it. What's also interesting is the fact that The Witcher had such negative reviews from critics. It's fascinating, but as of right now, The Witcher has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes for critics, but when I saw it before, it had like a 56, and then it has a 93% for audience. And I'm wondering where the divide is there. And I just find that so interesting when the critics are like, it's all right, and then everyone's just like, oh my god, it's amazing. As someone who is a film major, I really enjoyed the show. I thought the interweaving of the plots worked really well. I thought they did a really great job. I know they got inspiration from Dunkirk, and I think it shows, and like it's really fantastic how those stories kind of weave together and form this one big story. As I said before, I think it's really well done. I think the story arc is really great. It seems like a lot of the critics had this consensus that The Witcher felt half-formed in the world, and while I do agree the world wasn't really built and you don't really know what's happening with the world, I think it was more centered around the characters and their journeys within this series, because it's so character-centered that like you follow their arcs. And I think that's what I also really appreciated, is that we really got to know these three central characters and really cared for them. I think that was really well done, and I think that's why it's also done so well among audience members. Of course, it's on Netflix, so a lot of the Netflix people are going to be promoting it and everything. But it's not just Netflix promoting it, because it's the #2 show of the year. So it's fascinating to see how this show has grown in audience over this amount of time. So overall, yeah, I think it's really fascinating how this show blew up as soon as it came out. Everyone was talking about it, and I can't wait for season 2. I thought the first season was really great. If you haven't seen The Witcher, I definitely recommend you check it out on Netflix. At least watch it a little bit to see what it's about. I think it's really fascinating. I think the characters are really well done, and I think the storylines and how they interweave really makes the show fantastic. So I definitely agree with all the hype. I believe it deserves its #2 spot on that Netflix series list. I'll be interested to see how much people are talking about it after a few months, because with shows like Stranger Things, people are still talking about it. Maybe not as much, but I definitely know people are still like, oh my god, this happened, and you're like, yeah, wild. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses and if the hype will still be there around season 2. I am super hyped for season 2. So I'll be one of those people waiting patiently or anxiously. Really, I just want the next season. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be up very soon. So I'll see you guys then. Okay, bye!